Hello everybody, it is Emery48 here. Welcome back to another Star Wars Sunday. In today's video, we're going over Republic Commando 000, which is a novel by Karen Travis that takes place in 22 BBY in the Legends timeline. It is the same year as Shatterpoint and takes place mostly in month 13 after the Battle of Geonosis. Prologue, 10 months ABG. Phi's private journal. Phi, Aten, Darman, and Niner have gotten the new black camo they requested after Kylura, just in time to go to Fest, a snow planet. Their mission on Fest is to demo a Separatist factory building with a new super metal, Frick. Chapter 1. General Irie Kamas wanted to speak with Cal Scarada just 5 days after the Battle of Geonosis because of some issues with the 6 ARC troopers. Chapter 1 starts on Topoka City, Camino, 8 years before the battle on Geonosis. Cal and Jango were presented a group of 6 clones who the Kaminoans considered faulty because they would not follow orders. When there were 4, the Kaminoans were planning on terminating them. Cal said he would train them, and Jango agreed, saying they could be good for spying and intelligence operations. These are the Null troopers. Cal named N11 Ordo. The other boys were named Aiden, Kamerk, Prudy, Muriel, and Jang. Scarada began training and teaching the Null Arcs, and they learned everything after they were told it once. Jango introduced Scarada to his infant clone son, Boba. The story moves forward 8 years to 5 days after the battle on Geonosis, at the Special Forces SO Brigade HQ barracks on Coruscant. Jedi General Kamas had called Scarada even though he was no longer under contract because the Null Arcs put an entire barracks on lockdown because they did not want to be forced back into a cooldown pod. Scarada has been enlisted into the Grand Army of the Republic and will command the Null Arcs. Chapter 2, 367 ABG. General Etain is fighting on Dinlo. Etain gave a speech to the troops with her as they prepared to go onto Dinlo's surface to rescue some of the squads that were pinned by droids. Ordo and General Jusik responded to a bomb detonation and possible further bombs in a non-residential area on Coruscant. This activity is going on at the same time as Etain's fight on Dinlo. Jusik studied the blast zone and reported that the enemy had never been at the site of the explosion. Darman, Phi, Aten, and Niner are in an unmarked ship piloted by Sicko at the Perlemian hyperspace intersection. Omega Squad boarded a bandit ship looking to arrest a group of 5. While on board, Sicko stayed with the ship. They had arrested 2 while the remaining 3 bandits held up in the cockpit. They lost the 2 they had cuffed when Sicko and his ship detached, leaving an opening in the bulkhead. Darman is working on closing off the area exposed to space. Chapter 3. Etain and the clones wiped out hundreds of droids to rescue some of the clones in the battalions stranded on Dinlo. After they fought for a short time, they took off again. The bombing investigation found that the bomb had been smuggled onto a delivery transport. The driver was a regular civilian driver, and they don't suspect the driver. The driver also died in the explosion. The people Omega Squad are attempting to arrest are possible suspects in the bombing. Omega Squad called for immediate extraction, as they will run out of oxygen in maximum 3 hours. Omega Squad reached the cockpit, subduing and arresting the 3 inside. This also secured them the 3 hours of oxygen they had. Ordo predicts the person who detonated the bomb had access to the security cameras in the area. This conclusion led Ordo to believe there is a mole. The Dinlo mission was a success. It saved over 1,000 clones and lost under 100. They were able to return to the Fearless, their fleet ship. The Fearless then responded to Omega Squad's 000. Chapter 4. The Majestic and Fearless are both headed towards Omega Squad's location. Omega Squad are in the cockpit with the 3 prisoners. They have opened up a comm link with Cal and Ordo, just so everyone knew their status. Delta Squad is also on their way to to Omega Squad, ETA under 2 hours. Aten has sent info back to headquarters of the prisoners. A Separatist ship is heading for Omega Squad's location as well. They should arrive right around the same time Delta Squad does. Delta Squad is now 6 minutes away. Etain told them to extract the prisoners as priority 1. Fearless is 3 minutes behind them and will be able to fend off the oncoming Separatist ship and rescue Omega Squad. Hopefully. Delta Squad has reached Omega Squad. They began breaching the hull of the ship as the Separatist ship entered the system. Fearless is 2 minutes out. Fearless was able to hit the Separatist ship with a missile as it was decelerating out of hyperspace. Delta Squad was able to safely extract Omega Squad and the prisoners now that there was no immediate threat. Delta Squad was made up of Boss, Fixer, Sev, and Scorch. Boss seems to be the one in charge of the squad. Aten and Sev had a heated conversation about Val, who had trained them. Niner broke it up and wanted to hear from Aten later about the issue. Aten seems to have some grudge about Val's training methods and his scars he suffered from the training. Chapter 5. Perlemian Traffic Control shot Sicko's ship while it was attached as it did not know the ship was part of the Republic military, killing Sicko. 368 days after the Battle of Geonosis, it marks the 1-year anniversary. Scorata wants Ordo, Muriel, Omega Squad, and another squad of commandos to help with the bombing investigation on Coruscant. They will have to wear different uniforms, sometimes even going without armor, to better blend in as normal clones as to not raise notice. Etain greeted Omega Squad as they boarded the Fearless. We are now 369 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Scorata and Ordo met with Zay, Jusik, and Val, as well as Captain Maze, who was bruising nicely from a punch Ordo applied a day or two before. Without actually saying what was going to happen because it was all most definitely illegal, Jusik is going to give Omega and Delta Squad, as well as some clone troopers, time off. Scorata, Ordo, Muriel, Omega, and Delta Squads will then investigate the bombings on Coruscant, attempt to find, interrogate, and kill the suspects running the Separatist ring on Coruscant. Zay has unofficially approved this operation. Scorata and Val had a heated discussion at the end of the meeting, and Scorata told Val to stay away from Aten. Etain and Get watched as Phi, Scorch, Darman, and Sev taught troopers from the 41st Elite a Mandalorian battle chant called Dawerda Verda. The Fearless docked safely on Coruscant. Chapter 6, 370 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Scorata and Etain have met, and Etain agreed to work with Omega and Delta Squads on Coruscant. Scorata also briefed Etain on their overall mission on Coruscant, which is stopping bombings and attacks on clones stationed on the capital. Chapter 7, 370 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Master Zay addressed the Jedi Council and revealed data that commando squads trained by Mandalorians had a higher survival rate than commandos trained by any other race. Scorata met with Omega and Delta Squads to clear the air between them. They seem more close now that the meeting is over. Ordo also introduced himself to Delta Squad. Ordo went to the logistics hub to start the investigation into the mole. He met Kor, an injured clone trooper, and his civilian supervisor, Basani Wenin, who is an attractive female that has been treating Kor very well. Ordo told Kor his name, but told him not to tell anyone, to test if Wenin was getting info out of Kor and sending it to the Separatists. Chapter 8. Muriel sent an encrypted message to Ordo saying he knew how they manipulated the DNA to make more loyal soldiers. Muriel has not figured out how they changed the aging process. Scorata and Ordo met with Mar Rugayan, who was going to work on getting leave for clones on Coruscant to, quote, boost public perception. At least that's the cover. Scorata, Ordo, Scorch, and Sev visited Kiba the Hutt's bar, restaurant, and hotel. Scorata roughed Kiba up a bit and convinced him to let him and some clones stay and eat there for a while in exchange for the 500,000 credits Kibu owed him from 9 years ago. Kibu agreed. Chapter 9. 371 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Cal leads the briefing for Omega Squad, Delta Squad, Ordo, Etane, Jusik, and a Wookie, Inaka. Inaka will work as their quartermaster. They will not be using military ranks any longer, and no Jedi robes will be worn. After the briefing, Cal and Ordo brought Etane to interrogate and torture with the Force one of the prisoners Omega Squad had arrested. The safe house they were using was in a nice area of Coruscant, pretty new building that had really good soundproofing. Val was happy to give Etane a shot at torture as the prisoner in front of him was passed out and had not revealed anything. Orjul is the human prisoner, and Mtruli and Gisk are the Nikto prisoners. Etane broke Orjul mentally. She also discovered that the Nikto knew nothing, as they only feared death, whereas Orjul feared breaking and revealing information. Val then got a location from Orjul, but no date. Val had killed one of the Nikto to get this info out of Orjul. Chapter 10. Zay explained to Camus that Commandos are unpredictable and sometimes disobedient, but he also knows they will win the Republic the war, so the Jedi must tolerate them. Everyone is preparing to start their watch. I'm assuming of the drop point location. Ordo is going to acquire explosives for the drop. Etane went to her room in Kibu's hotel while everyone else ate. She threw up and cried. Darman went to check on Etane. They talked and confessed feelings, getting physical after they ate. Chapter 11. Cal revealed to Captain Jaller Obrim that he preferred working with the young Jedi like Jusik and Etane rather than the seasoned, more philosophical Jedi like Zay. 378 days after the Battle of Geonosis, Ordo goes undercover. 380 days after the Battle of Geonosis, Sev, Phi, and Jusik, while on watch, saw Vinajis, a Gar government employee and a Falleen, do an irregular cargo transfer at a warehouse. None of the cargo ever went into the warehouse. It just changed vehicles. Phi and Sev decided to follow the two suspicious people as they walked away from the warehouse. Phi and Sev lost the Falleen after a short time, so they focused on Jis. After a while, she needed a taxi, so Jusik picked her up as he was undercover as a taxi driver. He then picked up Phi and Sev, restraining Jis. They were followed by another vehicle. Jusik led it down an alley and Sev shot at it, exploding it. They brought Jis to Kibu's, and Aten and Fixer brought her to the safe house. Aten told the trio that Cal was not pleased with what they had risked. Chapter 12. Obrim messaged Cal, telling him the blown-up speeder was not CSF, as none of the trio had known who was driving the speeder. Obrim did mention that it was someone's, and if more people keep dying, then more people will notice something is happening. Boss and Niner brawled shortly after Cal separated them, as tensions rose, following the semi-botched following. Cal did know that he would have done the same thing, but that didn't make it the right choice. Cal could tell something was up between Darman and Etane. He confronted Etane privately and said he was alright with the relationship, as long as Etane didn't use Darman and she actually cared for him. Captain Jaller called. The speeder Jusik, Sev, and Phi shot down were seemingly part of a gang. Their gang thought another gang was responsible and retaliated. A gang war may have just erupted on Coruscant. Chapter 13. One of the dead gangsters was the Falleen. When the Coruscant security force investigated his house, they determined he was supplying explosives to someone. Someone from inside the Gar tried contacting the Falleen after they captured Jis. Cal is going to have Kibu be the middleman and sell the Separatists some explosives they have sabotaged. 381 days after the Battle of Geonosis, Val has killed the 3 prisoners. Jis revealed that she leaves a chip with traffic patterns and information in the woman's bathroom in the logistics building. Someone unknown to her picks it up. Val is now staying with the rest of the team as Inaka is cleaning and closing the safe house. Etane is playing the role of Cal's daughter. She is starting her career in the black market arms business. Chapter 14. 383 days after the Battle of Geonosis. CSF have caught wind of the new explosives on the market and are preparing for a raid. Ordo has swapped places with Core as a way of going undercover. Cal has set up a time and place to meet and sell explosives. They think they are dealing with the Separatists at this point, but they do not know the identity of the buyer, just that they have a Coruscant accent. Chapter 15, 384 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Ordo is very suspicious of Wenin after she went into the freshers and checked multiple unlocked lockers, finding nothing and leaving disappointed. Phi, Darman, Scorch, Sev, and Etain watch the plaza from the perimeter where Cal and Jusik meet with Periv. Periv has 5 people with him scattered throughout the plaza. Phi and Scorch shot all the Separatists with a discreet tracking dust. Periv has taken a sample of the explosives and will get in touch with Cal if he likes the supply. Wenin was mad at Jis when she showed up late. Ordo was shocked because Val had supposedly killed her. Ordo was confused as to whether one of them was a fake Jis or if Val didn't actually kill her. My current theory is the person they captured as Jis may have stolen her credentials from the real Jis. Wenin offered to drive Kor, which is Ordo, back to his barracks. Ordo asked her to bring him to a taxi terminal in the entertainment district instead so he could get dinner with friends. She was glad to see he was taking time to relax. Ordo revealed to the group that Jis was alive. He is going to track her at the end of her shift. One of the tracked suspects entered the CSF divisional headquarters. Chapter 16. The Jis that had returned to the office was a Gurlanin. Wenin had been following Jis as an audit from the Treasury Department at the same time Etain and Ordo followed Jis. The Gurlanin had shifted in an alley and charged Ordo. He shot the Gurlanin. Wenin was injured as well when Etain had used a stun on the Gurlanin. She was trying to save the Gurlanin. Etain also told Ordo to check, which is a command Cal uses on the clones. Ordo was pissed that she utilized the command, saying it could have gotten him killed. Etain said she was trying to stop him from killing the Gurlanin. 385 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Cal asked Wenin why she was against the war. Her response was because the government she worked for was fighting a war with slaves who would not have rights post-war, and that made her angry. From that moment, Cal knew they had an ally in Wenin. Jusik and Etain were able to heal the Gurlanin and said the Gurlanin would regain consciousness shortly. While Phi and Sev were doing some reconnaissance, they used a ladder to transfer roofs. Sev fell but caught himself, dislocating his shoulder. Phi carried him across the ladder. Sev revealed that Val could not find out about his injury as he would be mad. Etan's original squad had ruined Val's perfect record because 3 of them died. Val gave Etan his face scar as punishment for losing his squad mates. Chapter 17. The Gurlanin was Jinart. The Gurlanins were on Coruscant because the Republic never kept their end of the bargain on Kylura. Jinart is not working for the Separatists. She would just use Jis's body when she was missing to extract information from Republic logistics. Etain apologized to both Cal and Ordo for using the check command on Ordo and said she would never do it again. Chapter 18. Zay has agreed to pull out of Kylura to keep the Gurlanins from turning against the Republic, as he respects the damage Gurlanins can deal to the Republic. Zay made sure to withdraw from Kylura. Jinart revealed Separatist suspects, and they let her go. Cal, while having breakfast with Jalair, got a call from Periv, saying he liked what he had and wanted to chat again in the same plaza in a half an hour. Cal met Periv in the plaza, and Periv had him get into a speeder. Val followed Periv, while Jusik and Phi followed Cal. Periv and 6 other Separatists met with Cal and agreed on a purchase, amount, and time. The location is the building Phi and Sev had been watching earlier, which is also where they took Cal. Ordo and Bethany returned to logistics. Bethany is wrapping up her assignment and will return to the Treasury Department the next day. Ordo is going to find the 2 people Jinart identified as working with Separatists. They are Hila Madiri of Accounts and a man from Transportation Maintenance. All Wenin asked of Ordo was to notify her that they made it through their mission safely. She didn't need details, just to know they were all right. He agreed to let her know. Cal met up with Phi and Jusik. The other person following Cal revealed themselves, and it was another Null arc, Muriel. Chapter 19. Etain wrote in her journal that no one will take the baby she is carrying, like she was taken, and like how all of the clones are taken from having a normal life. Muriel killed the transportation maintenance trader in a repulsor lift accident. Ordo shot Hila Madiri while she ate her lunch in a park after Muriel disabled the security cameras. Muriel revealed that he had successfully tracked Kosai and had information on her whereabouts. Everyone but Etain and Val got dinner the day before their drop. However, Cal got a call from Periv saying they needed to move the drop to tonight, 3 hours from the call, significantly rushing their operation. Chapter 20. Periv called again, moving the drop location to the factory they had originally picked up gist from. Omega Squad, Delta Squad, Ordo, Muriel, Kor, Cal, Val, Jusik, and Etain are suited up and ready to depart. Chapter 21. Delta and Omega Squads, along with Muriel and Ordo, are set up along the perimeter of the drop point waiting for Cal and Jusik to come with explosives. Etain and Val followed Periv to a diplomatic quarter. Val shot and killed Periv when he stepped onto a balcony. Murd, Val's bird thing, retrieved Periv's body and a data pad. Val and Etain left with the data pad and Murd, leaving Periv's body on a different balcony than he was shot on. Cal and Jusik handed over the explosives after they received payment. When he left, Cal contacted Jalair to raid the other locations with CSF, while the rest of the team targeted the warehouse. Chapter 22. In a battle that lasted 9 minutes, the team killed all the Separatists in the warehouse, which was around 24, barring one that escaped. Val and Etain have diverted from the diplomatic quarter and are hunting after the escapee. Seemingly the only injury was Darman, who was hit directly by a flamethrower, but it does seem like his armor kept him safe and no wounds were actually accrued. Val, Etain, and Murd tracked the fleeing Separatist. Etain killed him after he wounded Murd, although Murd will survive the leg wound. Chapter 23. 186 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Everyone has returned to Kibbuz safely after the operation. Etain told Vi that he planned on killing Val now that the job was done. Etain and Jusik talked, knowing they would both choose their attachment to the clones over the Jedi Order should they be forced to choose. Jusik said he could feel Etain's baby in the Force and promised not to tell her story. Etain attacked Val. Vi had tried to warn them prior to the fight. Jusik ran in and used the Force to separate Etain and Val and told them they had to stop fighting and that it was an order from him, a general. Chapter 24. 388 days after the Battle of Geonosis. The whole team, minus Etain, Val, and Bethany, celebrated with CSF at a police bar. Etain had been out on the balcony of the bar. Cal went out to talk with her. She told him that she was pregnant and she was going to have Darman's son. Cal was furious, telling her all the implications. They are not going to tell Darman until it is safe for him to know. They do not want him distracted in battle. She's going to live out her pregnancy on Kylura, and when she comes back with the baby, if Darman cannot raise it, then Cal will raise the baby as a Mandalorian. One thing Etain had never considered was the fact that their baby would be very valuable to the Kaminoans and other cloners, as the genes were clone and Force users, so they could potentially clone Jedi with the baby. Bethany went and arrived and got a drink with Ordo and Cal. Chapter 25, 389 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Ordo overheard Etain and Cal's conversation. Ordo knows that Etain is pregnant. When Ordo brought it up with Cal, they both agreed it was not the right time to inform Darman. 395 days after the Battle of Geonosis. Omega Squad is ready to head out on their next mission tomorrow. This time they'll work with the Galactic Marines on Skooma. Etain is ready to head to Kylura. Cal had reached out to Jannart. The Gurlanins will help Etain with her pregnancy. That's it for this book. I really enjoyed this one. The Republic Commando series has been impressing me in the first couple of books that I've read, and I'm excited to get to the next one. You get more of all the characters that you enjoyed in the first book, and you get a few extra characters along the way in this story. Overall, definitely enjoyed it and would recommend it if you like the Clone Wars era. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.